Nations Championship 2026, week 1 kicks off this weekend, and the first game in the fixtures is New Zealand versus France down at the brand new 1NZ Stadium in Christchurch, New Zealand. I'm just going to take a quick look at the team sheets now. If we start with the All Blacks, it's a fairly experienced pack. A lot of the talking point in the build up to this game is whether Dave Rennie was going to chop and change from the Razor Robertson regime, or he's going to try and stick with some consistency. And it probably comes as no surprise after the back of an excellent season, culminating winning the Super Rugby title a couple of weeks ago. There's a heavy representation of Hurricanes players both in the starting 15 and the bench, 11 overall. Crucially, the half-back partnership of Cam Roigard and Ruben Love, he gets the nod after a very impressive season, and he's got two experienced campaigners either side of him in Cam Roigard and Mr. Steady himself, Geordie Barrett, who I've yet to see play a bad game. It's going to be interesting to see how Ruben Love handles that. The other bone of contention was probably outside centre, where Dave Rennie's went for Quinn Tupaia ahead of Billy Proctor. Again, it would be really easy to have probably just had an entire Hurricanes back line with Fineanganofo on the bench, but in this instance he's put a sprinkle of Chiefs magic in Quinn Tupaia and Damien McKenzie. Perhaps Archibald Jordan moving out to the wing to accommodate Damien McKenzie, but he's a world-class operator wherever he plays. I wouldn't be surprised if it's McKenzie subbed off for Fineanganofo in the second half to see what he can do against this French team. The back row was also a bit of a bone of contention. Seen a few pundits be a little bit disappointed to see Luke Jacobson in there ahead of Wallace Satiti, but anytime I've seen Luke Jacobson play, you know what you're getting. He does the dirty stuff, gets in amongst the physicality, good carry, clears rucks. We've obviously got that balance of Peter Lakai and Ardi Savia in there as well, so I think it's looking pretty tidy. And the front row, the old-timer Cody Taylor still cutting about 106 caps. Hasn't maybe had the best of his season with the Crusaders, and Father Time's perhaps catching up with him, but he's still a fairly consistent operator, and I like what he does around the field as well as in the scrum. Looking at France, and Fabien Galtier is obviously without his Toulouse contingent, who have just finished their top 14 campaign in winning the top 14 at the weekend there. So if you look at it, it looks as if he's putting a real heavy reliance on back-to-back European champions Bordeaux Begley players. You can see there's 8 in the starting lineup and 1 on the bench. So without Antoine Dupont and his partner in crime, Romain Ntamak, he's put a combination of obviously Maxime Lucu and Mathieu Jalibert, who have been absolutely outstanding for Bordeaux over the last couple of seasons. In the pack is a little bit of inexperience, particularly at hooker. Maxime Lamoth, although he's not got many caps to his name at international level, he has again been outstanding for Bordeaux. Surprise return for Damien Poineau after being left in the wilderness in the Six Nations, but again this is probably on the back of Leo Bielberet decided not to travel or being rested for this section of the Nations Championship. I'm sure he'll cause a bit of problems, and there is still talent in that back line with Theo Atasogbe and Diora Mofana that can cause the All Blacks all sorts of issues if they don't contain them. The bench doesn't have a lot of experience, with a potential debutant in Barnaby Massa, but Michael Goulard, Nolan Lagaric and Antoine Hastoy, Fabien Gall potentially looking to just straight swap in combinations and taking off the Bordeaux pivots and subbing them in with La Rochelle at some point in the second half. So overall it's got the guts of a decent test, plenty of experience in the All Blacks, perhaps not the same amount of experience in France, but last year people said the same thing down in New Zealand, that the French were disrespectful by taking a perceived second/third string, and they caused the All Blacks a bit of bother. So let's hope that this group of Frenchmen can come down and make a good contest of it.